From all, today we are going to talk about software supply chain security, why it is important, and how to do it. So I'm going to cover what is the software supply chain attack, then the software composition analysis, its findings and reviews, the challenges which comes in the software composition, various types of SBOM and its formats, and then the SCA solution basically in order to handle this challenges in open components and how to be on top of supply chain attack. As you all know, so Shahi Hulud attack. So recently 2.0 is done. Prior to this, there was 1.0, which was initial attack. So where various NPM packages were targeted. Okay. So what they are trying to do basically here. I mean, there it was a self-replicating worm which spread it through these packages, almost more than 100 packages, 187 packages. This is 1.0. In 2.0, again, there are a number of packages affected. So what it is doing basically. So it is trying to steal the credentials, developer credentials, and then it bundled in the truffle log, and then scan public GitHub for more secrets. So basically, what intention of any such attack is to steal the information, to break the security, okay, to attack the be it SCM repos, be it trying to steal the code, trying to steal the proprietary information. So that is the intention of any such attack, okay. And here in this stolen data is exposed publicly and in new Git repositories and all. So if you are using any of the compromise packages, so ensure that like all npm GitHub, so ensure that the credentials should be rotated for that matter. So now I'll come to the basics of composition. So software composition, what it is. As we know that, I mean, we use many open source components. So it has, it is, it is comprised of various components, right? So when we say npm packages, so it has multiple components. Same goes with JDK or for that matter JUnit. So any software components. So using software components, so it has the complexity of large elements and which try to break into smaller pieces. So basically, we want to reuse the components for our own ease to reduce the development effort, and we don't want to reinvent the wheel, right? So that's the reason we go for open source components. But again, it comes with risk as well. Okay. So the challenges here in open source component, it introduces definitely many risks. So what are different types of risk basically? The version control. So risk of changes introduced by new versions. As you know that these versions are being maintained by different owners. Uh, so latest versions will always be introduced. So how to control those versions? Shall we always upgrade to new versions and all that? So that is one challenge. Then second is security risk, which we were talking about in earlier slide I mentioned. So where the attack which tried to steal the information. So those are the kind of security risk which come along with this open source license. Then next is the what we call is the license risk. So as we know that the there will be intellectual property of various organizations and all. So if it doesn't review it properly before using any component, so we may fall into that kind of risk. Okay, so where we are trying to use IPs or intellectual property of any other organizations, or for that matter, any other these providers who are providing these software components. Then development a risk of compatibility between existing code base and open source software. Yeah. So this is always the challenge. So say for example, you are using multiple open source components. If you want to upgrade one component, we need to ensure that the other components are not getting affected or those are compatible with the upgrading components. So that is always the challenge. And the support, the when we use these open source components, though many times we find that the documentation is not good enough, Or sometimes the software components obsolete means after certain version they'll stop updating that particular component. And if you are using it, so definitely that risk will carry. So considering all these challenges, software composition analysis, so that's the where the SCA software composition analysis comes in picture. So what it is basically, it is a practice to analyze the various software components and to identify if there is a software risk, security risk, if there is any license risk, if there is any operational risk. Operational risk in the sense the component which you are using, it is not getting updated after that. So that may carry risk because you are not that component is not being maintained, and also you are not getting updates. So if any security vulnerability in that component, so you may not be able to detect it and address it. Okay. So with this, uh, so let's jump to SBOM now, software bill of material. Now let us take the example of this childhood attack. So as it is mentioned that there are various NPM packages which are affected. Now, as a team, as an organization, how do you know whether we are affected or not? If you tell developers, go and check. So it is, you understand, there are more than 200 packages. If you go and manually search each and in each and every project, so it is very difficult and painful task. So what is the option basically? So maintain the SBOM, software bill of material. So what it is basically, it is the comprehensive list of all software components along with the dependencies and metadata. So why this is useful? So any such incidents happen, like Shayul attack. So you can go back to SBOMs and verify. So you don't have to go into the code and check the various files, etc. You just have to scan the SBOMs and check whether it is that particular version you are using or not. If you are using, take the appropriate action, remediation action. That is the one advantage. Second thing is, if you are providing software to your customers, so customer may ask the details of the components. So in that case, SBOM is the file which you can share it, and vice versa. Suppose if you are using any third-party software, then definitely you can ask SBOM file from your vendors so that any such incident happen, then you can cross-check whether you are affected or not. Okay. Let us see the types of these SBOM files. There are two types. The one is CycloneDX file. So this is specifically for vulnerability management and security analysis. As you can see, it has the various format like what version it is. So it has metadata like what type of application, what type of name, version. In component where it is library, what type of version. Perl is nothing but the package URL from where it is downloaded, and license information also, which particular license category it belongs to. So similarly, there is another type, SPDX, software package data exchange format. This is specifically or more suited for software license and copyright format, where you can see the details like from where it is downloaded, license included, copyright information as well. It is mentioned. Then, as I mentioned, the software composition analysis. So there are various tools available in market. There are open source tools also there, identify solutions also there. So you can pick as per your organization policy, as per your risk appetite, as per your budget. But at least you can go into that path where you start analyzing your components. You have your SBOM. So that way we can ready for the situation where such attack happened, we can immediately take action rather than just trying to. It will take time if you go manually and identify in each and every project. So it is practically it's very challenging and cumbersome as well. So that's the reason SCA solution you should use, and it is always recommended to use in your DevSecOps pipeline basically, because it is automatic practice you should follow whenever any new code is committed, any new particular component is added, so it will scan automatically and alert you for any vulnerabilities so that remediation can be done. So yeah, so I was mentioning that it's SCA solution basically it scan the source code and identify the vulnerabilities. Many open source tools, be it like dependency track, dependency check. So So those will identify the mostly security vulnerabilities. License vulnerability is something you need to have enterprise level tools. So there are various tools available in market. So basically, how these will identify, as we know that CVs were common vulnerabilities and exposures. So this is being something maintained by NVD. Along with that, OSS index and other GitHub advisories, etc., can be referred. Also exploitability. So there will be severity, vulnerability mentioned, but exploitability is also important factor. So some tools directly show the CVID based on NVD for that, but whether it is really exploited, is there any probability of exploitation, that is EPSS. So that kind of stuff you may not find in open source tools. So enterprise level tools will take that information, and based on that, it will try to set the severity and priority of that particular vulnerability. Also, as I mentioned, they check for license, and the enterprise solutions will generate the SBOM for you. So yeah, so how to be on top of supply chain attack? Maintain SBOM inventory, so that will help to identify any vulnerability impact. Ask SBOM from vendors and ensure no security risk present if you are using any third-party software. Secure your build pipelines so that no unupload software is downloaded during runtime. Yeah, this is important factor because sometimes we try to download the software during runtime, so that should not be the case. In pipeline, you should integrate SCA Solution so that whatever download should happen before the scan, and once scan is run, it will identify the if any vulnerability is there, and implement artifact signing wherever possible, and continuous monitoring and detection. Okay. With that, thank you. If you have any question, please write in comment. And if you like this, please like and subscribe this channel. Thank you.